figure out what I wanted to talk about here, I really flew around all those different topics and tried to find something that maybe somebody has not talked about before. And then it came to me this situation every dressage rider is an individual rider for sure. And then we compete individually all the time, and boom, we come into a team and we have to work as a team. And that is not always super easy, or it's different. I don't say it's not easy, it's fun, but it's different. So this situation, I thought we could maybe play around a little bit with that one. For example, it's so different. I come from Sweden, far north. We are extremely far away from all competitions. We have to drive far to go somewhere. But if you are here riding and you have your horses close by, you drive to the show, you ride, and then you go home, you sleep at home, you ride your other horses at home, you meet your kids, you meet your dogs, you live a normal life even if you compete. It's really kind of very easy way of going to a competition. But also in that, saying that, it's really important that you can focus and that you can really be on your job when you're on the job. But for me, it feels so much easier. And also, compared to live in Sweden, then we have to do to an international show, we maybe have to drive 3 days. And you're not allowed to come until the day before the jog. So then that means I haven't ridden my horse for a couple of days. But the Germans next door, they only drove 2 hours, so they have been riding their horses. It's really like a whole different thing. So for me to be here, just pop over to the show, wow, that's great. Even if it's a long trip to get here. But that's not. But then if you talk about an individual competition, you do have your routines. For me, that's extremely important. I'm very much into, I want to have, not that I want to have it in a certain way, but I want to know my routines. And I want to have a certain way of preparing myself, or prepare my horses, or let my groom prepare, or my trainer prepare. We do follow a lot of different routines. And when you do an individual show, you choose yourself. You choose yourself when you want to come, how you want to do it, all those different, we can come into that, what specifically I do. But when you go to an individual show, you choose yourself. When you come into a team, suddenly we are working together as a team, and you can't always choose how you want to do it. And then you have to figure out a way of having your own routines without coming in the way for somebody else, or maybe have to certain things are different on a competition where it's a team competition, and you have to know it, and you have to like it, and you have to put that into your own situation and like the situation. Okay, I talk a bit around it, but for example, what's good here that you see here is we now have the Nations Cup, which is a super way of training to ride in a team, because it's two different things. It's one thing is the situation to ride with 3 other riders, and you are depending on each other. It's a lot of pressure that comes in, because you want to do well for them, of course, and you want to do well for yourself also. But to train to do that, then the Nations Cups are super, because that's not so big. But if you go to a championship and maybe represent your country, then the pressure, of course, gets even... Well, I shouldn't say pressure, because it's fun, but it still is a pressure there. You want to do it good, and you want to do a good show. And I think the most difficult part in doing that is to ride as you did on the little show at home next door. That's the solution, but that's not so easy. So you have to be very good at fooling yourself that it's actually only your own arena. It's the same 2060 arena, it's the same judges, it's the same test actually. It's really ridiculous, but it's still so hard to do the same. So me then, coming from Sweden, get to practice quite a lot. This traveling part is a big part of doing a championship. Of course, if you go to a championship, suddenly it's far away, and you go for a long trip, and you don't the people that not normally travel so much, they probably don't recognize the horses when they come there, because they get totally different when they travel along. On the other hand, if it's a big championship, maybe you are allowed to come a bit earlier than you do when I just go as we do. So you have to figure out how to prepare your horses for those traveling. And when you go to European or World Championship, the organizer is quite often a beginner of organizing shows, at least on this spot, because the place where they keep a championship, they don't usually have shows. The bigger, the more unusual it is. So that means the whole organization is maybe not super together, and they also don't know how to go from the warm-up to the show, or how it's going to work going from the stabling down to that place. And then there is 20 stewards that don't know that either, because they weren't there before either. So the challenge of coming of those championships, it's things that you never think about could happen there, that suddenly you're on the first one who's going to ride and nobody knows how to go. So that you learn by doing this a couple of times, you learn that you have to really ask all those questions. How do you go from the stable to the warm-up? How do you go to the warm-up to the maybe 10 minutes arena that they have? I think you know about that, the last rider. Before it was, how do you say, you have to do it. What do you say that? How do you say that? Mandatory to do it. But now they mostly have it like you can choose. But suddenly you get on a show and there is some sitting there reading the rules and says you have to. And that's not so easy, because you break up your warm-up a lot then. So you have to know how to go there. And then you have to know how to get into the arena. And once you're around the arena, you have to know the rules they decided to have, that you have maybe 30 seconds before the signal goes. Or they change. It's amazing, because they do different every time. And if you don't ask us questions and you're first in your team, then it's going to be a lot of, how do you say, unnecessary stress that takes away the focus of showing. So it's so many things that happens on those championships that has nothing to do with yourself, your horse, your riding. It's not even talking about the team tension that you have to ride together in a team, and you want to do it good, and you want to do it good for your country. But it comes so many stupid things coming up. I know we were once in Haag, I think, and Kira was the first starter, and the whole scoreboard fell down when she went in. It's like, and they hadn't like when you go in, when you enter, was this big portal, or how do you say, and they hadn't closed the ditch where they put all the cables down. She had to jump in because they weren't done ready. So she jumped in, and then the scoreboard came down, and we're like, okay, try to ride now. It's ridiculous, but I have so many stories when you come into this about what can happen. But of course, I mean, now I'm only talking about the bad parts. It's a wonderful thing, of course, to ride in a team. But it was more about the difference. It's so many things that happens that you don't really think about on a big show. And for me, I like to have, talking about other things, my routines. I go into the routines now. When I show, I never count minutes before I start. I count horses. So I like to warm up 3 horses. And then I like to walk 1 horse. And then I hate when I start first, because I can't count like that then. So I have to count the times, but I put it over in, because then I can, when I warm up, I can look around me. I see 2 horses still there. I know I have 2 horses. I know exactly how much time that is in my body. I don't need to look at the watch, because it's not really the point. The point is how much, because they too have to ride. I know they are still there, even if they are late. I still know there's 2 horses to go. So things like that, I have a lot of different kind of ideas how to do it. Which then doesn't work if they have a 10-minute arena maybe then, or it's far to walk in between the different places. So the team part it's an exciting, this was the happening part of the team part that you can't tell. And even worse when you go to Olympics, because then it's even for certain that they haven't had shows on that arena before, because that is on a new place. And there is a lot of people in the organization that are extremely ambitious and wants to do this so very well that they decide so many new rules that we never had. That you're not allowed to do that, and you can do that, and you can absolutely not do that. And it's so many new things that we never heard of. And then you've been showing the whole time. So it's really, if you know all this, that it's going to happen, and it's not going to destroy your focus or your riding or your, but if you're on the first championship, 90% of the riders always said, oh God, it's really different. How should I do it? I don't know. I can't do as I'm used to do. So that can really, it makes it more difficult, but also exciting, I think. Of course. So, but then also it's another part being such an individual sport. Then when you travel to a championship, we are 4 riders or 3 riders, mostly 4 riders. And then suddenly we are a group of people. First we travel together. We can't really decide which groom is going to fly with the horse, for example. It's going to be somebody else who decides that. It's suddenly not my decision anymore, which I'm very used to. I can decide over my horse. No, I can't suddenly. I have to. And then we come to the show that we are going in one car together. We have to decide when to go up, when to go away, when to have breakfast, where to have dinner. And if you are there for a big championship, you can be 2 weeks. And 2 weeks with people that you don't choose that you want to have this close. I think being a Swede, it's good because we have a good, companionship in the team. We are really good friends and we are not so many. We know each other. It's about the same riders the whole time. But some countries, when you look at them, they do not speak to each other at all. And then this is really a challenge. And like when I started ride many years ago, the Germans did not speak to each other at all, and they did not go in the same car somewhere. So when they went to the Olympics, it was like, I don't know how to do this. They were fighting. So, and that certainly changes how you compete, I would say. If you're not so tough as they are very tough. They were really tough. So maybe they don't care, but I would never handle that kind of. So in our team, it's a good, but it's still not so easy. And we worked a lot. When you work a lot with like mental training for competing, we also worked a lot in getting a team together, traveling with the people that you don't choose yourself. Because in that team, it could be 4 people that are super, and it could be a 5th people that take all the energy from all of the others. And you just have to accept that, and you have to find a way of doing that in a nice way. So we worked a lot of that with the trainer and the coach. We talked about this mentality, how to get this team together and want to win together. And yeah, that's, for me, I think it's really fun. I like that part, but it can also be really hard. So when you go then, okay, now I go so quick over everything I want to say. You have to give me questions later because this is hard to just grab. It's so much different things that happens. But when you do go to a championship, there is most certainly only one time that you get into the arena. Compared to a normal show, you can go every morning and you can ride around, you can walk around, you can do whatever you like. But at the championship, you have the familiarization day, which is a very organized day, the first organized thing that happens. And there is mostly 20 minutes per team. And you can choose if you want to have 5 minutes each, or you want to go together in 20 minutes, which also then, of course, can be something that can be discussed. And that's the first thing the stewards does. So the stewards are extremely, 5 minutes, hurry, in, out, now, first. It's a lot of stress. And you want to go in, for me anyway, I want to go in the first time with my horse quiet, I want to walk, I want to be relaxed, I don't want to have tension at all. So I always say, why don't we go in all of us to this 20 minutes? Because then we can just, I even want to walk and relax. I don't want to tell the horses this is a scary place. Because that's what happens when you go in like, in, out, hurry up, you should go out, I have to be in, you go out before I go in. I mean, it can be so many strange situations that comes into this. It sounds ridiculous, but it really, it makes a difference for the communication with the horse, I think. So the familiarization, if you look at that on a show, if you're sitting and looking at the international championship and look at the familiarization, that's exciting. and I think it's kind of strange because, of course, it's the steward's first rule, so they want to do it exactly right. And it's said almost sometimes with 30 seconds intervals where one should go out and one should go in. And as we said before, it's not always done when you start, and especially not done when you do the familiarization. So they are mostly working around the arena at the same time. And maybe you'd go another way in because the one that you're going to show through, you can't go through there at that point. So you have to, as a rider, I don't think it's a problem, but you have to know it so you can prepare yourself so you know what you're going to get into when you show later. So that's really important information for the ones who goes for the first time on a show like this, I think. But then, of course, it's somehow that has changed. When I started to show, there was actually not much media at the normal shows also not the international shows. And then you come to a championship and suddenly there are TV, there are a lot of media, there are so much press. And we weren't used to that at all. Right now it's different because everybody get to train that. But it certainly changes the way you, the tension, how do you say, the tension level? I mean, the excitement of showing, if you're new to it, that's different. And if you go to the Olympics, it comes 10 times more because it's so many different countries and so many different also journalists that not normally cover equestrian. So the questions you get when you get the normal TV coming up, it's not the same as you get from the ones that you know as your friends mostly. In most countries you know your journalist because it's such a small thing. When I came to my first Olympics and I didn't have a clue that there was going to be so many people asking me so many strange things that I thought nobody would know. Why would they want to know that from me? So that is also something that's like different on an Olympic part. But to go to an Olympic competition is, I would say, that's different from everything else apart. You can't really describe that in any other way than it's totally different. And I think you have to split that up in two different things. The one part is the competition part, when you ride, and your achievements, which of course is the reason you're there. That's the important part. But if you come to the Olympics, I think you have to put another side into it, and that is just the excitement of being there and to live an Olympic game once. You have to enjoy it. You just have to take your time. You're there so long. You just have to open your eyes and see something more than just the horses, which is just an incredible thing to be a part of. So the competition part is really extremely important, that you make it as your own home show at home as much as you can. Then probably getting shipped everywhere and you don't know where to go, but still stay in focus. And then once you're not riding, you have to go to the Olympic Village to see all the different sports. It's to go into the dining area in an Olympic Village. The first time I did that, and I put myself in a queue, and in front of me there were standing like 5 basketball players. Hi. And then next to them there was this little gymnastic girl, and she's down there. I mean, it's so amazing. And then you see, like, you can now when you are talking about it, you can imagine all those different sports and all those different people. It's amazing. So if anybody is so into that competing part that they don't notice that when they do it to Olympics, I think they threw a part away of life that's mean to yourself. You have to see all this. And also that kind of food that you can have from everywhere of the world, what they eat in different countries and what you can go and eat and you can see there. Not that you maybe want to eat it, but to see that it's there, it's amazing. It's really amazing. So an Olympic game is something very, very special to see. But then to go on the difficult part, if you are at the Olympic Games, you have to be prepared about that you can't move in the town at all because you can't get anywhere. It's impossible to move anywhere because it's so much. First, it's a lot of security, and second, you are just allowed to be in your own wherever spot you're supposed to move. You cannot go out and in, and you can't actually take a taxi somewhere downtown and have it. I mean, it's impossible. It's so many people on the same place. It's so tight, but it's amazing to see. But the showing part on the Olympic game is not so much difference than another big show, I think. It's just that they never had a show on the same place before. Wherever you go, they mostly never have horses there. And there can also be standing quite a lot of people helping everywhere that never ever have seen a horse, which also can be kind of exciting when they tell you, you're not supposed to do that. It's like, nah, I don't think so. That's not going to work. But of course now I'm just trying to like paint out all the different stuff of going to but as a team member, anyway, to go back to this basics, what it's about, to be a team and to be a part of a big team, it's something extremely, it's different, and it's a great responsibility, and it's a lot of fun. And of course, if you do well, it's even more fun, of course. But to do that together with others, which we don't do so much as riders otherwise, of course, that makes a new dimension of our sport, I think, to do a good show with a team and win a medal or something. It's great, of course. But also, it's a responsibility if you are a team, and if one of the members in the team is not going so well, I think it's a bigger responsibility of the other team members to maybe lift that person up, because it's not fun to be the one that ruins a team, which everybody, of course, knows. So I think for us, at least, the Swedish teams are really kind of trying to think of all those different things that nobody gets too scared, and because that's going to make them do less good also, to lift each other up. And of course, that's much more fun than just do one good thing alone. What do you want to know about this? I think you should.
Olympics have you been to?
7. Yeah. That only tells me that I'm older. I don't know if I want to say that.
Which Olympics stands out the most in your mind for whatever reason?
If you say equestrian-wise, for sure London, because they know horses and they knew how to do a horse show. So that was the only place I've been to where you feel like, it's okay, I can ride there. I'm not going to die if I go in that lane. Because when you were somewhere else, you did not know what was going to happen. But as a memory for me personally, I actually think Sydney was amazing. And I don't know why. I can't say why, but maybe we just had a lot of fun and saw a lot of stuff. I don't know, but that's really, Australia was a country for me that was amazing. And we felt so welcome when we came there. You felt like we did something extraordinary. It was such a thing to come there as an Olympic competitor. And the other way around, the worst was Rio, where you felt that they just wanted us to leave. Please go away, don't be here, don't go here. We could not go out anywhere on the street or anything, and they kind of destroyed stuff, and it was terrible. It was, and where the equestrian park was in Rio, it was the poorest town that I ever seen. I mean, they were so poor, and of course they didn't want any of this luxury thing that came by. So it was very violent, and they were very, very afraid of the security also, and you could feel that. So you felt that you did not want to go out.
Where was your first Olympics?
Barcelona.
How was that?
Oh, for me, it was fantastic. But at that point, I didn't know how difficult it was, I think. So I was like, okay, I do it better next time. Come on. So maybe as youth can be, you're not so scared of doing wrong at that point. You think, I just do it better next time. And that was not so easy. But Barcelona was a lot of fun also.
How many languages do you speak?
Swedish, English, and German. So not so many.
So when you're on a team, and do you go in with a strategy like, if it's going really well, do you think, well, I'm just going to maybe be conservative and not have any mistakes, or do you all go in and just ride like you know you can?
I think that depends on, if you are on a team that you know you're close to a medal and it's really the sharpest, then you do exactly everything you can. But mostly, I think the first test, at least in Grand Prix, you want to do mistake-free. Because if you aim too high and you get 10 mistakes, you don't want to be in that position. And mistake-free is quite good still. But if you're on that level of having maybe a medal, yeah, then maybe you give that extra push, especially if you are the last one to go. But you have to be really strong-minded if you want to know that when you go last. Most people don't even want to know what it's about. You just want to do your thing and don't really be, at that point, not being a part of the team thinking. Not on the counting it, knowing that you need like 75%, then we're going to win. That's not a nice thing to go in with. But if you're Isabel Wert, you know exactly what you need, and she's going to go like this to get it. So I mean, it depends on how sure you are, and also depends on how much routine you have together with your horse. If you are the ones that are like really world top, they can maybe spike that last part. But I think a lot of advices are to go mistake-free in the Grand Prix and then maybe go better after that. Because if you do a bad Grand Prix, even if the judge is not supposed to think like that, it's still like if you have a bad Grand Prix, it's really hard to recover, I think.
Does the Swedish team people have a coach these days, or how?
Yeah, we do have a coach, but we have our own trainers. But at the moment, Louise is our coach, so it is also my trainer at this point. But earlier we had Kyra, and we had others, and we still had our own trainers at home. So we made this coach part that is somebody standing at the warm up always, which is nice, even if you don't have your own trainer there. But also that going to the championship, you're not allowed to take an own trainer. Then you have to have the team trainer because there's only one you're allowed to get in. That's also something going to Olympics that I didn't think about. The accreditation makes you not get your family with you, maybe not get your kids with you if you're a bit older, which I had small kids at one point. They had to stay home, and you're not used to that. You go to every show with the people around you, surround you with people that you trust, and then suddenly you are kind of a little bit alone. If you don't ride in the same team year out and year in as we do, then we know each other, but that's not always like that. So going to championships, you have to have a team trainer. And if you don't work with that team trainer at all, then you are very alone. So it's good to have support.
You mentioned earlier on that you have learned to fool yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That let's say the championship venue is the same as the venue just at home. So how do you do that? And what goes through your mind to help you fool yourself?
You mean I'm going to tell you how crazy I am now? Well, I think I have this routine that I did always earlier, not always now, but still when it's a big show I do. I sit down by the arena before anything starts, when it's empty, and then I ride my test. And I do really, at home I can ride my test in my mind in the same time as I competed. And if I try 10 times, maybe I succeed once, because you always start to think about something else, or you go faster. But when I do that once, then I leave it. But then I go to the arena, especially when it's a championship, you don't ride there, because if you go to Aachen or you go here, you've been here before, you know how it looks. But if you're in a new place, I sit down, and then I do really think that if I ride the extended trot, and I'm going to see that commercial sign. If I ride the half pass, and I'm going to face that tribune or whatever, that light or that flower, or so that I'm kind of familiar with the arena. So otherwise you go in there and the first time you go, it's like, gee, am I going right? Where am I? You don't just see the letters. You don't do that. You see further, even if you don't want to. So I really try to like figure out where I am in the, how do you say, in the space. Yeah, exactly. So that when I ride, I have done it a couple of times before. It's not the first time I go in there, actually, in my mind, even if it is the first time I go in there. I think that's one thing that I always do. And I also think that Louise helps me a lot with that you can just shut out everything that goes around you. If you have a person that you trust in your ear when you warm up, then you don't mind that all these people are standing watching. Because that is hard otherwise, to warm up and you see, oh, that's my idol. She's standing there looking when I'm riding. Oh, do a little bit more. I mean, and then you destroy something. To have somebody in the ear say, it looks good, you're fine, you're good. Or you have to do a little bit more, and then you're shaking, come on, start to ride. That is so important, that you have somebody that you are used to also, that you can handle in your ear, I think. But this thing with this room part, I think, is for me really important. And that's somebody who taught me that. I'm really happy, because also when you go on some indoor shows and you ride on those strange arenas, they are really wild, and you have things so close. The tables, the people are really close. They're hanging on you. Then you have to like feel at home when you go in. So I think that's something that I do, because when I know that, then I don't see the people anymore, because then I have my space. I close that in a little bit. And then I think one thing that is really important also towards your horse is your warm-up and your acting to your horse, and your cooperation with your horse has to be the same if you're going to next door's little show and train, or if you go to the championship. You have to have the same relation with your horse, and you have to stay the same for them, so that you are familiar. Otherwise they get nervous, and they also get nervous of those huge arenas where you are riding maybe in a big stadium and you are just the arena is just here and it's so much space and everybody says, oh, that's good, they don't look at anything, but it's really difficult because you feel alone in there. You feel alone yourself too. So then you have to be this calm person that are secure and really can tell your horse that, yep, we're supposed to go where it's just the same as every day else. So, I mean, the nerves otherwise just picks over to your horse so easy. But in the way of fooling myself, I think are the routines that I do. That I do it the same way. This sitting down or at home riding the test, even if I've done this test 1,000 times, it's not that I'm riding the test. I'm thinking about in this corner before the ones, I need to speed up a little bit on this horse. I need to flex left. I need to collect. I need to do something that I only do this. And that's what I want to do when I warm up also. I want to remember, like program myself. How do you say program? Program yourself how it feels right now, because that changes from every week. This week I need to think like that in the corner before I go into the zigzag. I need to go 2 steps forward before I start. In another test I need to start immediately because I can never fit it in when you ride different horses. And when one horse in the zigzag I need to reflex before the change. In the next horse I have to keep it straight. In the third horse I have to turn it around. I mean, I do different on every horse. And that I program myself when I work them in the morning. That's also something that I almost always do. I like to take them out in the morning when if you don't show at 8 o'clock in the morning, which you don't do that often. And because then I want to warm up and not think about the show. I don't want to have a clock when I warm up. I just want to ride soft, do half halts, ride straight, feel how they are, think about that corner before the half pass that I want to flex a little bit more, whatever it is that is right now. That's what I want to do in the morning when nobody can tell you I have to hurry up or I have to go in 2 minutes. So when you warm up for the show, you just warm up and go in. That's important for me, which for some people, they don't want to do that at all. They think it's terrible. They think the horses get tired if you ride once in the morning. And that's fine too. Then they shouldn't do it. They warm up probably longer instead before their test. So it's so individual, and I think it has to be individual. It has to be it's more about your own mind, a lot about your own mind, to be in that, to put yourself in that mode that you think that this is good. That's the part of fooling. Okay. Like when you have a horse that is too hot or it's hard to piaffe, you really have to maybe have a horse that is difficult to stay calm in the piaffe. You have to do that piaffe 10,000 times in your head and feel how your body feels when it's perfect. Because your body don't know if you imagined it or if you did it. So then when you come to that piaffe, you are going to be relaxed and be nice to in your body language to your horse. And don't tell him it's never going to work. Then it's not going to work. So, I mean, I think I fool myself, but it's also about to fool your horse a little bit, or not fool, to put your horse into the best possible mindset also. Because the horse are, if you go on the big show, as I said, these big arenas, they get the split mind. They lose focus on you. You lose the connection with the horse when it gets a lot of stuff going on. You lose also here in the Friday night, you lose the connection big time because it's so loud when you come in. I don't think anybody can imagine how loud it is in the arena here from the tents, which I don't think it's anywhere else. I don't know why. It's something with the sound. It goes back into that. You hear every glass, or you hear everything when you come in, and the horses do too. And then there you have to have, how do you say, they have to know how to be so that the horse focus on you instead of the sounds. How do you get the focus back on you? Not by saying, hey, listen, more like being more interesting. You have to do small things so that they, whoa, are you talking to me? Like you do yourself when you try to get the attention to somebody, you be interesting instead. So I think you have to stay interesting for your horse, and then they forget the things around you and you get them back, and then you can go. Then you get the connection back again.
What do you do at home to prepare your horses for those venues that you've maybe not been to, or those bigger venues?
Yeah, that's really hard, yeah. I don't think you can do anything at home. You need to get them out there. You need to get them into different environments. Like, for instance, being here, going to different arenas, you need to show a lot. It's a lot of experience also for the horse. But of course you have to be that safe, how do you say, communicating person to the horse when it gets strange. So But I think it's also important that they hack. They go out, they go inside, they go outside, they go in all different environments. You have to do everything. Yes, that's also practicing. I mean, the horses need to do a lot different things also with you at home. Of course, it starts there. You can never be shy of trying to be in different environments and to ride around the jump somewhere, try to go do different things all the time. I mean, that's the basic part of horse.
Slightly different subject. You talked about the long trips, 3 days that you've done that after drive. How do you prepare the horses for that? And is it non-stop? Do they stop on the way? And then what do you do when you get there? You only have 1 day before you show.
You do like this? No. It's different in Europe. First of all, we don't do it's a little bit different from here because here you drive non-stop, so you get much further in 3 days. In Europe, you're only allowed to go 8 hours, and you have to have a stop.
Do the horses have to get off, or they?
Yes, you have to get off. But even before that rule that came with the slaughter transports. That's when they decided that's not really for the horses, but it came in whole Europe for all the terrible. They took all the horses or animals, pigs and everything down to Poland, and they slaughtered them, which was terrible. I mean, so there the rule came. But already before the rule, if you want to ride on the horse, I learned if I travel 8 hours, take them out, let them night over, and then go 8 hours or maybe 9. It can be a traffic, of course, 9 or 9.5. But like plan-wise, 8-hour trip, I would say. So we'd only go 8 hours, and then we stay overnight, and then we go 8 hours again. I can even if I could go on 2 days and make 10 and 11, I prefer do 3 days and only do 4 hours the last day. Then I can jog the horse when I come there. So if I keep that limit, the horses feels okay. If I go over that limit, which you can do when you go home, you sometimes go home on 2 days, and they are like dead in their body. So you feel the difference. But I think also our horses that we have up in Stockholm, which is so far north, they learn this, they get used to it. And then after a while it doesn't bother them. And then you have a new horse, and you better bring it a couple of times, because the first times they come out like this, or they are super fresh first, but then they get tired, of course, or they get crooked. They don't feel the same. It's a different feeling. So it's a lot about letting them get used to it and don't travel too far. And we do mostly, we stop overnight, but we also walk them a lot, maybe even launch them if they are quiet, if they're good. If we stay on the places we do, we launch them just in a halter, just let them trot around, get them to move, then they don't get so stiff. So it's a lot about knowing, and also how we feed and what kind of supplements we give are really trying to be different from every horse, but smart in that way. So they learn more by doing it a lot. I can feel that on the horses we bring here also. The ones that have been here a couple of times, they no problem. And the ones doing it the first time, they're dead. So dead, you understand me, but they're tired. Felt bad, exhausted.
Like flying to Sydney? I mean, like, what is that like on a horse?
Yeah, that was really different. But on the other hand, then we came 3 weeks before because we had to stand quarantine. So we didn't need to show directly. When it's a big show, there's so much more money into it, so they bring them so much earlier. But then they flew 3 times 8 hours, and they landed in between, but we didn't get them out on the flight. So that was terrible, I would say, to be honest.
Yeah.
So we went 8 hours, refuel, 8 hours, refuel, and 8 hours.
Where was this going to?
Sydney. And I think we flew from Frankfurt at that time. That is also something for us from Stockholm. When we fly here, we fly Amsterdam, Miami. It's a 3-day drive to Amsterdam for us. So we have the big drive before we get on the plane.
It's 3 days to get there.
Yeah, if we do this system, as I said, I do 3 days, yeah.
Wow.
2 days and a half day, because I don't want them to be tired, and I want them to be there 24 hours before so that they can move and get launched or get ridden or whatever to recover before they do the flight.
Right.
So.
And then, when do you usually bring them? Like November here, or do you get them
We-
here in December?
No, mid-December we leave now. So then they have like over Christmas and New Year really just can hack and relax, and they have their free time actually when they come here. So have like a good 10-14 days with almost no work at all.
Oh wow.
And then they stay super. But it can ride them immediately, but usually then after a month, or they say 6-8 weeks, they can even see that. That's maybe you know about that, but that you can see that on the blood work. Like I think it's 6 weeks, then everything goes down on the horses. So you also say when you go into a show, if you travel far, the jumpers that travels a lot, either you come in 4 days before and you just ride, or you have to come in really early because they go down. I don't know now, 5-6 weeks or something, I think, in the blood works also. So then the horses have a dip in their bodies. I mean, no question about it. So they feel fresh when they come, but if we do like I learned this, if I really do easy work, just no stress at all, then they're fine directly. And I don't notice this, that they probably go down also, but you don't see it on them. I don't notice it. So that we talk about when we go to championships, that they have to be around us within the 3 weeks or after, like you have to show fast, or you have to be so early that they turn around. But I mean, I think that's different. If you have a racehorse, you have to go like maximum. But yes.
Do you do anything special in relation to jet lag?
No, we don't do anything, but for sure you can notice on them that they are turned upside down, and also their feeding times. In the beginning, when I started traveling, everybody's laughing. They don't know the clock. They don't have jet lag. They have jet lag, big time. And they are also the dogs. I mean, they're sleeping at the day. So that's just give them time. We don't do anything, but we are really not. They have a lot of peace in the beginning. I think that's the best way. The difficult part is actually to travel home, because here you come to the warm, they relax. You can have them. They go out in the fields. They relax. You can hack. And then you go home and it's minus. Not Fahrenheit, but minus in Celsius. It's still freezing. It's ice and snow. And take it easy at that point is not so easy, because then they're fresh because they come into the cold. And
When you go back usually end of March?
yeah,
Oh, wow.
it can still be frozen.
Yeah.
At least very, very cold compared to this. And the fields, you can't really get them out. You can't turn them out on ice. So you can turn them out, but they better be quiet. They're not quiet when they come home. So that's much more difficult, actually. That transformation is a bit harder. It's also harder to recognize, because the horses get so fresh from the cold that you don't feel if they are actually tired from working, which comes back to that they don't work that good, but they're fresh. You know what I mean? It's hard to understand what is what.
Do you bring enough feed with you when you come to the big shows? Certainly for the Olympics you could do it, but when you're coming to Florida, do you bring enough feed for the entire time, or are you switching your feed?
You're not allowed to.
You're not allowed
It's really tough. It depends on also when you go to different shows. Otherwise, when you go to a show in Europe, you bring all the food. You never switch. But when you go also to the Olympics, to certain countries, you're not allowed to bring food. In the US, you're not allowed to bring food.
So how do they handle
Yeah,
the
exactly.
switching?
So then they can either, to some countries, we ship with containers like months before all the feed that we want to have, when they allow it. Then the federation ships tons of food long before. Or the other way around, that when we went to some countries where you're not allowed them, they can ship food from that country to Sweden. So we change the feed before we go, half at least a little bit. I mean, it's talking about hay. It's enough to be giving a part so that they are used to it. But when you go here, like we do now, we're not. It's like zero. They change like that, and that's also why we take it easy for a while with them then. So they have no choice.
Do your horses get turned out when they're here?
Yeah, all of them.
Do you ever use any drying poles or anything as a training method, or cavaletti?
Yeah, for sure. Cavaletti we do. The younger ones jumps a little bit. The older ones not. Not the older riders either anymore. But cavaletti is a lot. We do. And we have them on water also, water treadmills. I like.
Oh, that's nice. How many horses do you generally bring over?
It's very different depending from year to year, but for me, myself, I have 5 this year. And then I have Caroline here, the core with 3 horses, and my boss have 2 horses. So that's 9 this year. Did I count it right? Yeah. And sometimes Caroline didn't come, and then it's me and then maybe we have 6 or 7 horses. But This year I have 5. So
And you've been coming for quite a while now, haven't
Mhm.
you? When did
First-
what was your first year?
first year was 2010 to 11. That's a long time now. And I can count that on my son because he was only 8 the first year when we came, and I know that, remembering the years. And he's grown up now, so that's interesting. It's a super way for us to spend the winter. I can't say that when I'm sitting talking like this. If I talk like this in Sweden, I say it's the best way to spend the winter. They kill me because they have to stay there. So I can't say that there, but I can say that to you.
Yes.
And for us, I don't think it's not the cold that is most difficult. It's that it's so dark. Now we're coming into really different subjects. But Sweden, in like Christmas time, it gets light 8:30, 9, and dark at 2. So it's really a short time of daylight. On the other hand, in the summer it doesn't get dark, so then it's nice.
Do you have time to see any other parts of the United States?
We did that when our son was small. Then, of course, you do those things. Now we don't so much. Then I'm riding.
Oh, you only ride in Wellington?
Yeah. But the first couple of years, of course, when he was smaller and he was here, we did a lot of other things too. Yeah.
Disney World.
Disney World also, yes.
When did you first start riding, and did you always stay in
Yeah, that's an interesting question. My mother rode when I was a kid, so she really brought me into this world in a good way. So I rode like when I was really small, like 5, 6 years on a little pony, like somebody. But then when I was 9, I started to ride. And after school, when our system, when you are 16, you're done with the the mandatory part of the school, and then you can do 3 more years. It's different from here. But at that point, you can take a break if you want to, and you can go on later. So then I went to Germany to work with horses when I was 16. My mother sent me away. And I got allowance from my father to take a year out of school if I learned German. So I really went to school there to learn German. And then I came home again and I finished school, and then I went back to the same place and I stayed there for 4 years. So I stayed 4 years in Germany. And at that point, after those years, I decided that I want to do this professionally. Before, not really. I thought I just try to learn as much as possible and do something else. Yeah.
Where in Germany?
Walter Christensen, Neumünster.
Yeah.
So
So when did the Olympics happen?
when I came home from Germany, I came home with Caprice, was my first Grand Prix horse, and that was Christensen's horse. So I got to buy her together with a lot of different Swedish people in a big group. They bought her, and I went with her when I was 24.
Wow.
Yeah.
So who would be your idol? You imagine seeing your idol at the ring?
Wow. That's so hard because I have so many idols. Because I see different things in different persons, I think. But to be the best competition rider, I think Isabel is absolutely outstanding. But to be the most horse person I've met, I think Herbert Rehbein actually was the one that I got mostly impressed of. Because he could do things with the horses that nobody else did, and you could not see what he did. He was talking and joking, and the horses just like, boom. So that was an eye-opening. But I think the education I got, these are so old people now, but Walter Christensen, where I was, he was the best ever person you could have to teach the humans to ride well. Herbert Rehman was the one who could master with the horses. He could read the horse's mind perfectly. But Christensen could really get the people to learn to ride in a way. So you can get different things from different persons. When I grew up, I think Anki van Grunsven was like the big star. When I started to compete, I was really afraid of her. I know I met her in the elevator and I was like, because they were always fighting, she and Chef. They were screaming and I thought that was so scary. So I was so scared of them. And the German teams, except Isabel, were really not talking to anybody, so they were just they were just nothing to. But on the other hand, I spoke German. I've been in Germany so much, I know all them. So that was kind of my way, of course, into it. It's different. It is different. I know the ones I showed with Don Aurelio the first time. It's really a funny story because we were in Rotterdam, and that's the hometown of Anki, of course. I mean, the Dutch, they were so big at that point. They were so much better than everybody else at that point for a little while. And it was Edvard and Hans Peter and Anki was riding, and I rode Don Aurelio, and I got this new freestyle. And you know, when you ride, you can see the scoreboard. You see the score of the rider who's riding, and you see the leaders present at the same level in the test when they got that far. And I rode quite, not early, but I rode before the best ones, the last group, and I came up and I was in the lead. So I knew that percentage on the scoreboard was me. It was mine. And then Anki rode with Salinero, who, I mean, nobody could beat her. It didn't even cross my mind that I could beat her. It did not exist. So I kind of nice, I come close to them. And I keep looking at the test, and I keep seeing that leaders percent is me. And Anki is still after me. And it came to my mind. No, she was riding. I had already ridden. So the leaders percent was mine. I was standing watching her, and I was just going to watch her win. I was so sure. And I was like, I'm still ahead of her. And I'm still ahead. I said, I'm going to win. So I won that. And I won at her hometown. I won over her. And it was like so surreal. And I went down to the press conference. And Kees Slings, who did my music, who had done my music, he came down to the press conference, and they were sitting down, and it was Anki, which I was still a little bit afraid of, and it was me, and he was sitting, and they asked her 10,000 questions, and like one question to me, because nobody knew who I was. I was like, and it was so rude. No, I'm so happy I was just here. It's like and then after the show, they were like stars in Holland in a different way. I've never seen like that. It was like they went back behind the jumping. It was a big, what do you say, scene? Or what do you say, big... Yeah, well, high up there were loudspeakers and lights, and they were standing up on a scene, on a stage. Yeah, that's what I was searching for. There was a big stage. So all the winners were allowed to go up on the stage. And then they were champagne, and there were Anki and Hans Peter and Edvard and me. And I was like, and it was so unreal. And then we walked down from there, and I was like, oh, I'm walking behind them. I don't know where to go. And then this little boy came up, and he had the camera and the mobile he had. It must have been a camera. And he looked at Anki and said, oh, can you please take a photo of her with me? So I had to stand next to this boy, and she took a picture of me. It's like, I'm never going to forget it. It's still here. It's so many years ago, but it's still. So talk about a sport where you don't think that you can achieve something you don't think, until you think you can do it probably, then it gets easier to do it. That was fun. About idols. That was kind of, I don't know if it was an idol. It was a little bit like scary. Scary one.
What's Sweden's qualifying process for the Olympics now?
It's a small country and not so many riders. They actually it's just to compete, and when it's not as set as here, because we first right now we just compete, and on the end, if it's close, then you get set. You have to go to that show together with the ones that are similar to your percentage. So it gets set in the end, I guess, like Rotterdam or Aachen, or I don't know if Aachen is too late this time. I don't know which shows it's going to be. They say you have to go to that show if you are in so that the ones that are competing about one spot competes on the same show. But as so far now, it's only the percentage of the Grand Prix and the special that they count the results. So it's a bit different. Because it's not that many. It's easier probably way of. They want to have the best ones, so it's a bit different. Swedes are a bit different in that way. They don't want to have this. They don't have square rules. They want to have every opinion to choose the one that are going to be the best one, I think.
But I guess as a rider, with only 3 going to the Olympics, 3 counting, in terms of that's a lot more pressure on you.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. Yeah. But for a country like Sweden, it makes it interesting because suddenly the chance is open because it's only 3. Because before with 4, if one German made a bad start, the fourth German was still better than everybody else, so they were still almost winning. Now England is the same. It's not Germany anymore, but back then. But the strongest countries have 4 really good ones, but with only 3, everything can happen. So it's more an open competition, but of course much more pressure of every rider. But I think for a country like Sweden, we don't mostly have 3 that has to count to have any chance anyway. We don't have 4 equal good, so still have to. That pressure I think is already there for us. But for the bigger countries, it's really different I think. And for the smaller countries, it's good because you have a chance. It opens up the competition eye a little bit more. But on the other hand, it's really hard to get on the team, so that's less people that get to go there. So it's pros and cons, of course, I think. Yeah.
What will be your schedule now toward Paris?
Well, I'm not sure I'm in the picture of Paris, but I'm showing here, and we'll see where we land when this season is over. And then, for sure, I'm going home first week of April, and first show that I'm going to do is probably Compiègne, which is very far from Stockholm. It's a long drive. Compiègne in France, and that is in May. But the distance between Stockholm and Compiègne is long. It's a long drive, but that's the first show for us to go anyway.
Do you drive with the horses in a convoy, or do you fly and the horses go on convoy?
I don't go with the horses anymore, but my groom goes with the horses and the driver, and I actually fly, yes, nowadays. I didn't do that from the beginning, but now I get to do that.
What kind of horse fence do you use? Does everybody go in those boxes? You have large horse fence.
They're different from here, huge trucks with they go on diagonal, they're standing diagonal with, I think you can put in 6 horses, and then you have a living, so the grooms and we are living in the truck also sometimes.
Not a trailer.
Not a trailer, no. No trailers at all. No. And the big trucks do really look different here from Europe.
Can you talk a little about your freestyle music?
Hmm?
How do you pick your freestyle music, and what do you like?
I had the luck of meeting this Dutch composer, Kees Links, who made all my last freestyles now. He also did the new one I wrote the other night here. He's a genius of making music, I think. And I don't think the most important part is that I like the type of music. A lot of writers say that. I think it has to suit the horse, and it has to be a theme that you can play between the different passage, piaffe, canter, trot, walk, so that it all comes together. That's even more important than exactly what lead it is. But I like it when you can recognize it, and I like it when people can sing. I mean, you could sing even if it's no text, but when you a couple of times we tried to do own new music, like they composed it to my rides, and that sounds so great, but nobody really, when you listen and you look, when you are as a judge or as the audience, I don't think you can split your mind that much. If you don't recognize the music, it doesn't really come into you. That's terrible to say, but I think it's too much to comprehend. So if you recognize it and it suits with the horse, then it goes like. So I think it has a point of have known music. Can you say that? Well-known music. Yeah. Well-known. Yeah, exactly. That makes it so much easier for the listener to look at the horse and hear the music and see that it fits good. But he chooses a lot of my music, but also me. But some I said I don't like, but still it was so good. So you have to be open-minded, I think, a little bit about it, and it has to suit the type of horse. That's more important. But he can support the rhythm of the horse, and he can support the movements in a wonderful way. So that's fun. It has to be a story. You have to tell a story from the the beginning to the end. If you just clip between different music, it's not a full story somehow.
Do you do the choreography and then he puts the music to it, or do you work together?
I do the choreography, and then he puts the music, and then he fights me about the choreography because he wants to have it different. And then we argue a bit about that, and then we end up on the end with a good solution. But I think you have to start with the choreography, and you have to do a choreography that suits every horse and helps the horse with what's difficult and hard and easy. But of course, it has to be a good total impression, of course, also.
Was he a horse person?
No.
But he understands rhythm.
Yeah, he does. He did the music for Anki in the beginning. I think it was the first one he did. I think Anki, and he does a lot of other riders also during the years. But he started with her.
So I remember when he was doing the music for Anki, and I actually sat in his studio one time with him.
Yeah.
And he did every single step.
Yeah.
So in the test, if she had one step different, the music didn't quite
Fit.
match. So, but I'm assuming you've gone away from that.
Yeah. He wants to do it like that, but I don't think again, as an audience or as a judge, you don't manage to hear that every step, because I change the choreography sometimes and still used his music, and everybody says it fits so beautiful. So I mean, it's not I think he puts even too much work into that detail, because nobody can comprehend it really. It just has to be rhythmical, and it has to be in the area of how the horse moves, of course. But this every step, I played around quite a lot, and it still fits quite good. I don't tell him that now. then I'm in trouble. No, I'm kidding. So he is really adjusting it a lot. But it's also, I think, if I hear the rhythm, if I take another horse, for example, I thought I could never change horses because that's made for that horse. But if I take another horse and write his music, and the rhythm is so good, then I can put my horse into that rhythm from hearing the music. So I'm helped out of the music to put into that rhythm when I ride. So then suddenly the rhythm fits to another horse. And it's like, and he told me, it's like, it's amazing, you have the same rhythm on two horses. And I don't think I have. I think I hear the rhythm and I put the horses into it. I figure that out.
Following on from that, how much do you think the rhythm tempo of different horses is actually?
That's exactly, I don't think it is that different. But I do reckon when I have a horse that I never rode a freestyle to, and then I put the music on and suddenly the horse goes better, must be me riding better probably. Because I hear the music and I get into a rhythm and I help the horse with it. So I think we can adjust the horses quite much more than we know. That was my conclusion of that. And it's easier. Many people say, oh, the horses hear the music, then they move to the music. I don't think so. I think the rider hears the music and helps the horses into it. That's my feeling anyway.
But how are you fortunate enough to have 7 horses for the Olympics? I mean, do you find them early, or how do you cultivate that?
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, I have a very, very good job at Lövsta Stuteri, keeping me with horses. But I did actually 3 Olympics before I came there. So I think a big piece of luck. And also I did 2 Olympics on Caprice, and I did 2 Olympics on Don Aurelio. So that was then only 5 horses then suddenly. But then also a piece of luck. Because I haven't done that many I have 6 World Championships. I missed those, and I missed some Europeans. So it's just the Olympics that I managed to do. So I don't know. A bit. Favorite horse? No, never. I think they are. It's an easy answer actually on that question, because I think they are so individual. It's like persons. I like them differently. I like them for different reasons, and I also like the ones that are not top horses for different reasons. I think that's kind of. It's like my friends. I wouldn't grade my friends in different. They're different. They give me different things. Yeah, and some horses are more fun to ride, and some horses are more fun to have in the stable to handle. I mean, they're different. So I think you get different things. And the horses you get too close to, if you show them so much and you travel with them, you get them so close that they are so dear to you. So I don't think they're. It's the same. People ask me, Antonia asked me, my boss, the owner of Lovestar, she asked me when I said I like a horse that wasn't my horse, it was somebody else's horse. I don't care, because it's the individual, I don't mind who owns it, because she said, how can you like it? It's not yours. It's like, I don't know, it's not important. I don't see that. It's like a friend. So I think it's more, I like animals. I'm a loser for dogs too. I can take them all. I'm hopeless, especially puppies. So, of course, then you can say the ones are favorite because I had experience. Like experience together with the horse can make a favorite experience. And then you land on Don Ariely because I had the most fantastic shows with him. Because he was a showman. I never had a horse that loved showing as he did. He was so eager to go in, and the bigger the arena, the louder, the more crazy it was, the more he just took off and went in. I couldn't almost not stop him. And in Sweden the audience are really loud. On our international, like our World Cup shows and when the championships are there, the audience goes nuts before we ride the Swedes. And that's kind of like particular. It's dear, but it's not so easy before you go in that they standing up, screaming and clapping, and he's just like, wow, they're looking at me. He loved it. I never had a horse. He must be really smart because he just loved that attention. So that was a funny experience to show with. But he was also in the same way then in the stables. If you looked at somebody else, he would tear down the stable because he was the only one who they should look at. So you're different. They are different. Yeah, big ego.
Very big ego.
Yeah. But it's fun with horses. I think that's the funny, that's the part we live for, or I live for at least, these personalities in the horses and the differences in them and the ability to develop them in a different way, each and every individual. That is kind of the everyday drive I have. I think that's so fun.
Okay, to ask a question about your family?
Yep.
Do your husband and son still come to Florida with you in the winter?
My husband, yes. My son, not.
Is your husband involved with the horses
No.
in any way?
No, not at all.
Supporter for you?
Oh yeah, and he's working with an American company, so that's good. So he can move here, doing his work here. So that's lucky.
Your son is old enough to be out on his own?
Yeah, he's 22 now. He was here for a month. He had vacation and stayed here for a month, but then he went home.
And he doesn't ride?
No, he doesn't ride. I didn't get that lucky.
Do you develop a lot of your horses from young horses up, or do you?
We do a lot of both in the stud farm. I have the fortune to get older horses because it's so many things happens with, even if you have 10 super 4-year-olds, it's not like you have 10 Grand Prix horses on the end. It doesn't work like that even if you're super skilled. Things happens on the way. So we do have them from young on, and we have a lot of horses coming up from young on all the way up. But we also have the possibility to get one on the way also by working at such a brilliant place, of course. So I have both, I would say. And we also sell a lot of them. We educate and sell a lot of the ones we have from the beginning, then, if they don't get world stars. They don't do that, all of them.
There's a lot of time in between there.
Yeah, it is, yeah. But it's fun when you have them from small on. It's nice, and also nice when you have, as we have a lot of breeding stallions and a lot of breedings. We have both rode the father and the mother, and then ride the offspring. It's something extra. You know them already before sometimes, so that's also a lot of fun. So we have a lot of the offsprings of our stallions, and sometimes also even the mothers. That's exciting, I think.
You can feel what you felt in the parents. You can feel that in the offspring.
Take, for example, maybe, here, like Benetton Dream that I showed here. His son, Boncoeur, and then the sons of Boncoeur. They have so many similarities that it's almost ridiculous. We can see that from 10 feet how they are. They have their personalities, what they do. Yeah, you can see that on them. That is, but then you don't see everything. It could be one thing that all the ones after that stallion are doing that. Not all, of course. and they understand. Oh, the ones they look like that. They have that pony, or they do that with the ear, and they do that when you put the saddle on. They do this. It's like small things they do, but they all do it. But it's not the whole. Of course, not the whole thing. But there's really the Benetton Dream Sons are. You can see if that's from him. That's really interesting. That's fun. Fun with horses. Good we human aren't the same. That would be bad.
Is there quite a bit of dressage then in Sweden? I mean, which there is?
I think Sweden has a good being. I mean, if you think about how many we are, like 10 million people only, and with that amount of people, we have a lot of dressage riders. So the sport is big, yeah. But we are so much smaller, of course, than Germany or Holland or something close to us. They have so many more, of course, to choose between. But
Despite the climate and the fact that you don't have, daylight that much and all that.
yeah, but it's only a couple of months. Otherwise, it's nice. It's not that. It sounds now that it's nothing, but it's only in the winter. It's just a month that is so bad. But yeah, and a lot of Swedish riders live in Germany or live in south of Sweden. I have 700 kilometers down to south of Sweden from Stockholm, so I live far north. So only that is the first 8 hours of traveling, 9 hours of traveling is just through Sweden. Yeah, exactly. So the country is long.
Yeah.
But a lot of the good riders are actually living in Germany to be closer to.
We have a trainer, show trainer.
Yeah, closer to the shows. So. Thank you.
Thank you.
For that?
That covers for us. That was amazing, thank you.
It's hard to know where to start and what to talk about because you have so much to say that
You could come back.
Am I the one to?
You're the one.
You're going to read the name, maybe?
I'll read the name.
Yeah, because I don't.
Linda Kimball.
Oh, you have your glasses on. I don't. I did not see that.
Thank you, congratulations.
Thank you.
You were fabulous.
Thank you.
I got a text saying how great you were. Lisa Lewis.
Woo. Thank you. Okay, now we better go in a different corner here.
Lori Ackerman. I can't believe I know these names.
You do?
Lori Rich.
What about Linda?
Right, we have to do a picture, you and I.
Yeah, of course.
Here, give that. Yeah, let me take this and I'll do the picture. For Facebook. Thank you. Yeah.
That's awesome. It was the day of the elves.
Richie, will you take a picture for me?
Back and I said, why don't you go
Take a picture for you.
with California?
I'll give you
Attached.
I know, yeah.